Okay.
All right.
Let us record.
Let's send
and then
it. Hey everyone, welcome to Figuring It Out. We're back here. My name's
We are back
Spencer.
here.
This is Austin. And
Other side. That was
this side. Whoops.
If
If you're watching on YouTube, I pointed the wrong way.
Yeah.
And Austin's back in the room with great lighting.
Yes. It was thankfully it's been available because I go into they have these nice little music practice rooms on the first floor of the building I live in on campus.
Mhm.
So the nice practice room has been available, which is nice because you can see my beautiful blonde hair.
You've got a glow going on.
The glow off my forehead.
Yeah.
For those of you on Spotify, if you've seen my face before, great. You can just imagine a glow on my head. If not, you can go to my Instagram. Yeah. You can go to my Instagram and look at a picture of me on there and imagine my head glowing.
Yes, that's what it looks like. It's a wild ride, but yeah, they'll get the point.
It's worth the look. I promise you that.
Oh boy, but we got some comments on it about how the lighting was much better. So
we did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I guess it did.
So we're making big moves here.
We
talked about the lighting in the last line.
Oh yeah. So Spencer, you kind of muted yourself again, which I don't know.
I'm not
doing that.
But it's the internet must be crappy, so it keeps muting me. So or maybe this stream or whatever this is saying, all right, you need to stop talking.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe it's just like it doesn't like you. It's like you don't have good things to say, so just stop.
It's like, ouch. It's like, gee, I felt that right there.
No, I wasn't saying that. I was saying that's what like the internet's saying to you. I don't think that.
Okay, no, I just messing. But I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago about it's been a year since COVID and how it's just kind of flown by. But this year has flown by. We're already past March. March Madness is coming to end. Yeah.
Yes. Which I was very disappointed that the Florida Gators, did not do too well. We lost to Oral Roberts, which I guess that's the upset team this year. Kind of disappointing, but at the same time, it was a good game. So can't really complain.
I'm cheering for Michigan State, and they didn't get past the play-in round. So,
oh yeah, that's right. That was bad.
But at least we made it. At least we made it to the tournament. I was happy. But my bracket was done like day one.
Oh, it was terrible. I had hope for I kid you not, probably 3 hours, and then after the first upset, it melted into oblivion. It was terrible. Yeah. It was absolutely awful.
I genuinely don't think I've had a worse year of a bracket ever. Mm-hmm. I had Illinois, and Illinois lost.
Yeah, that's they lost in the second round. It's I always like the brackets because it's fun. You play it with your friends. It's free. You don't
we have a work tournament.
Yeah, work tournament. I play with some of my friends here at school. It was fun. But this year, I usually follow college basketball pretty closely because I like seeing the prospects and I like seeing who's coming up for the NBA, who the Magic can hopefully draft if they decide to get their act together in the front office. But
they'll pick all the wrong people anyway. So
they do. They really do. It's disappointing. But I haven't really been following anybody this year, so it was kind of just who do I think stands the best chance? Yeah. Who do I think could possibly do the best? And in one bracket, I picked Illinois. The other bracket, I picked Gonzaga. And it's been disappointing. Yeah. It's really just been sad.
Usually, I feel like it's the people who know the least that do the best. And these whenever we'd have a family tournament, I think between my dad and my brothers and my mom. I have a brother who he's never really got into sports, and my mom paid like no attention to it. But me, my dad, and my brother, we would all like watch Michigan State basketball pretty intently.
Yeah.
But every time the bracket came around, I was like, oh, we're gonna win, no doubt.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be up there. But my mom and my brother, who paid no attention to sports, were always the ones who did the best. Guarantee every time.
Dude, that's the most frustrating thing. It's like you don't even try, and yet you still beat me. It's like all of this work I've done, that's how I feel with my fantasy basketball team. It's like all of this work I've done. I mean, I didn't do a lot of research for it, but like all the very little research I did do is just it's done. It's worthless. It absolutely means nothing.
Just points to that nothing matters.
Exactly. So everything is futile. Everything is vanity.
Yeah.
That on a completely different side note, that's from what is it? It's Ecclesiastes in the Bible, Solomon launches into this big like discourse that just says everything's vanity. It's like everything good you think is vanity. Yeah. I think that's fun. I think that's kind of funny, but
I've thought
completely unrelated.
I've thought about that quite a bit, like recently, because I read that not too long ago, and it's like nothing matters. Like in the end, like man, it's depressing, but at the same time, it's a little like freeing. Like
yeah, it's like,
but it's also depressing. Like oh man, like literally nothing matters.
You just sadly exhale a sigh of relief, like
yeah, that's true. Shoot, what have I been doing with myself?
But yeah, and it's interesting that like March Madness has kind of coincided with Holy Week, which is coincidentally this week. Which I don't know. Usually Holy Week, I try to like put aside like less distraction, like cut out some of the distractions. But I mean, this week it just feels like a super busy Holy Week this week. And I don't know. Do you feel that way?
No, not particularly. But I'm not. I'm not in school.
That's true.
You're in school. You've got like. I haven't paid too much attention to March Madness since Michigan State left the bracket, which was the first week. So
very true.
I haven't had a whole lot going on to where I'm like super like busy. But I'm sure you've got like finals coming up, and so
I got papers. I'm writing my capstone project, so that's like I think that's due here in like a couple weeks. So I'm like finalizing it, touching it up. So that's been like super busy. But kind of what we were going to talk about today is like this idea of Holy Week and like I guess traditions in the church. And because Holy Week it starts on Palm Sunday, which is the Sunday before Easter, and then it goes all the way to Good Friday. The Friday before Easter, and then Easter Sunday, which I wouldn't say it's a close second. It's my second favorite holiday. I would say my first favorite holiday is Advent, around Christmas time.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like
it took me a second to register.
Yeah, Advent is like the period before Christmas. It's like the waiting and the expecting of the coming Messiah, and I know we've preached here at Bay Hope. We've preached a couple like Advent series, which is pretty cool. But that's probably I would say my favorite. But again, out of all the holidays, even like Thanksgiving, Halloween, Easter, like Christmas, Easter, stuff like that, I would say Easter is my second favorite, just because I love it gives me so much peace because the weather's warming up and I'm tired of the cold weather. And also
weather. Okay.
Yeah. And I also like obviously celebrating the resurrection. That's why we celebrate it.
I thought you were going to say candy and Peeps.
Oh, the Easter Bunny. Which, funny side note, my mom used to take dirt from outside and take those like little cookie shapes, like those cookie shaped things.
Oh yeah.
And make like Easter Bunny footprints on the porch.
Oh.
And so she like kept the idea going that like the Easter Bunny was here.
And then
funny. In fourth grade, she just threw my whole world into disarray by telling me
the Easter Bunny wasn't real.
Yeah. Children, if you're listening to this, the Easter Bunny still lives on, and so does Santa Claus.
The Tooth Fairy comes around too, so
yeah,
make sure you put it under your pillow.
Yeah, exactly. But for those who aren't children, yeah, like it kind of blew my mind that like all that didn't exist. So let's hope kids just kind of turned it off after that. So
I don't know if I ever believed in the Easter Bunny. I think I just saw him as a mascot. Like I don't think I ever like. Whereas like Santa and the Tooth Fairy were definitely real. Like I never saw the Easter Bunny as like a bunny comes around and lays eggs or like puts eggs. Like because my parents, like when we'd get home from church, they'd be like, all right, time to find your eggs. Like they made it clear, I think, if I remember correctly, that they hid them from us.
Yeah.
And they would make it like harder for us each year and then by the time I was a senior in high school, it was like super hard to find. Not kidding.
Like last year, like I couldn't find any.
I couldn't find.
It was ridiculous.
They had them buried in the backyard. I was digging holes, man.
It's almost like they didn't hide any and just expected me to steal some of the neighbors.
Yeah,
but that. Go ahead.
I guess I've never thought of like when I look at Easter, I can see like it definitely being like the most like emotionally invested holiday. Whereas like Christmas is like obviously the excitement of Christmas, and like Christmas is just the best. Like I probably would not have considered Easter as like a top holiday for me before, like as like Christmas, Thanksgiving, and like I guess Easter, but I guess I didn't really think about Easter too much as a holiday. But when we take the time, like with that, like you said, putting those distractions aside for this week to really think about this week, like if you think about everything leading up to Jesus' death and then resurrection, like that can like really get you like your heart involved, and you really like, I don't know, connected with that time and really spending time with God and being connected with God. And I think it can be really like emotionally and spiritually powerful for you.
It's one of the most encouraging times, at least all the times I've been away at school. It's been one of the most encouraging times because every year I've gotten to come home and like go to my home church, which is Bay Hope, and either work the services or attend the services. And it's just such an enriching time for me. And in years past, I've actually we've celebrated Lent in years past, which is, I don't know, my family didn't celebrate Lent a lot growing up. So, but when I was in college, I started celebrating Lent, which starts on Ash Wednesday back earlier.
Is that when you get the thing on your head?
Yeah, that you see a lot of people with like the ash crosses on their forehead, which super cool. But it's this time of contemplation and this time of really meditating on, I guess, the life and the sacrifice of Christ that is about to take place on Easter. And kind of like you said, it is like the most emotionally stirring holiday, I feel, because when you grasp the gravity of like what we are celebrating, that's the common misconception. It's just like, but you have when you're a kid. It's like, oh, Easter is for the Easter Bunny, Christmas, Santa, Thanksgiving, I'm gonna eat food. But like as I've grown up, I've seen like Easter become this beautiful, just this celebration and rejoicing in the hope that we have in Christ, right? And that has become, it's hard to put into words almost, just how powerful it truly is.
Yeah. And last year was tough, I'd say, for for Good Friday and Easter and that week, just because that was when everything was shut down and it's just a whole whirlwind. And I'm sure it wasn't like as powerful for a lot of people as it maybe normally is, or maybe it was more. I don't know. We did a cool thing on the website for like, it was like a Good Friday experience. And so
the virtual Good Friday.
Yeah. And so it's like a virtual website that we kind of put together. And it was just like, I don't know. I thought it was really cool, very immersive. And, but if we're not in the service, sometimes it can feel like it not maybe as powerful. I don't know. But there's been Good Friday services, and I'm excited for the one that's coming up at Bay Hope. It's I can never pronounce it. It's like the Tenebrae. I think it's Tenebrae service. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. Well, it's like a worship experience where I think we blow out candles for like as we go along, and then at the end it's like everything like just goes dark. like just how the skies did when Jesus died. And so like on that Friday, and then you have to wait until like Sunday for like him to rise again. And I think that's going to be like a really cool, like actually immersive like experience. Like I think that would be really cool.
And that's why I think especially like kind of what we're talking about is tradition in the church, because the Tenebrae, if that I've never heard of that tradition, but that's very cool sounding, and I can't wait to participate in it. But there is a place, I think a lot of people, especially in Western culture, are very quick, especially I would say in the younger generations, they're very quick to reject tradition, right? They're very quick to reject church tradition because it can become so ritualistic and kind of dry, right? But I think tradition helps act as an anchor almost in our faith. It anchors us to the faith that started in the early church, because the early church started a lot of these traditions. And it's not, and I'm not talking about like any like incense or like lighting like that, like you don't have to do that. It doesn't stipulate in the Bible like that is necessary, but it's just something to help connect our minds, our emotions, and our senses with the thoughts of God, with the mind and the character of God. And I think that's super important, especially when we talk about like celebrating church holidays like Easter, Advent, Christmas, because they act as kind of like landmarks for us to come back to that place of just awe and worship of Jesus for who he is and who God is in his good nature, right?
Yeah. It's like taking the time to really focus on what happened. Like we know throughout the year, we know like we get to Christmas and we think, oh, Jesus was born this day and like the amazingness of that. And then like the rest of the year, like we know the gospel story, but this is like a week that we really like focus on like the times, like we can really like kind of compare it. And I don't know, is it accurate that it was actually like this week, or is that just a guess, you know? Like that Jesus said.
I was thinking about that when you were saying something. I was like, there's so much debate about like like because you have the whole argument like Jesus wasn't actually born in December, like it was the church holiday. And then you have like, oh, Easter didn't take place on this day. Scholars go back and forth. So, and everybody's going to disagree on something of that matter. But I would say the important thing is not that we are historically accurate on the calendar, but that we celebrate it. The fact that we set aside a time to think and to contemplate on the life and the sacrifice of Jesus. And I was actually thinking about this earlier this week. Sometimes in my life, I can forget, like I can just get so busy that I almost forget that Jesus was a real person, if that makes sense. Like that the stuff that we read in scripture actually physically happened to people just like you and me.
Yeah.
Right? That Jesus interacted with people just like he would interact with you and me if he were walking physically on earth today. And the fact that like Jesus physically died, he physically and willingly gave up his own life for us, for a people who certainly don't deserve it, and for people who would live thousands of years in the future. Like that thought is baffling and super sobering and just humbling, honestly.
Yeah, it's hard to contemplate sometimes. Like I think because we see it as, well, especially like as kids, we read it as like in a storybook type of way. And I don't know, it's like we're so removed now from the culture back then and how things were. And like, especially with like hanging people on crosses, like that whole time period, it's like, it's hard to see. But that's where there's like things like the TV show that we've talked about a lot, The Chosen. There's also the movie Passion of the Christ, which I watched that one time, and I'm pretty sure like I remember that being very very graphic. I don't know if you've seen it.
Very graphic,
movie. But it's like it
always makes me cry.
It's like, I don't know, it really shows you like what Jesus went through. But it is tough to see it as like him being a real person sometimes, like him, like that whole thing actually transpiring. And And I think that's where our faith really comes into play.
Well, yeah, it's like bringing your faith, tethering your faith back to reality, right? Like, and because sometimes I can kind of get focused on like theoretical things, right? But tethering my faith back to reality, like, hey, Jesus was a real person who lived a real life, who walked with real people, who really healed people and raised people from the dead, and who really actually was crucified on my behalf. And I remember in high school, my senior year, I read it was an excerpt of a book from a medical perspective. It was like the crucifixion from a medical perspective, and that was, oh, I broke down. Like it was so like touching and moving to read that, to read like literally the physical agony that he willingly endured for me.
Oh yeah.
And for all of us.
I couldn't imagine that. He would like, it was a lot, especially like when it's depicted in like the movie of like Passion of the Christ. It's like, oh, I can't watch this. Like, we don't think, I don't think we think about it a lot of times because we just see words.
Yeah.
And we just have to take it like from that. But like when we actually see it, it's like, oh my gosh. Or you dig deeper and look at the medical stuff, like, holy crap.
Yeah. You look at what actually happened. You look at the reality of it, right? And even for those of you that have listened long enough, I'm a big language nerd. And you look at the original language in the New Testament, and it reveals so much of like even just the true and the authentic pain that he went through, not because he had to, but because he wanted to, right?
Yeah. That's the part that always gets me, is like, he didn't deserve any of it. Like, he did nothing wrong. And was it Pilate didn't even like change? He's like, he's done nothing. He's done nothing wrong. Like, why do you want? And like the whole crowd just wanted him dead. And like they set free a murderer so that he would so that Jesus had to die on the cross and he had to carry that thing. And people saw that he was not guilty, and they wanted to help carry the cross. And that's the part that will always get me choked up, is that he didn't deserve any of it. He didn't do one thing wrong.
And that's why the story of the thief on the cross is even more beautiful, because you frame it in the context of like, hey, Jesus is dying. He's paying the penalty for the sins of mankind. And he looks over to a man on the cross, and the man on the cross cries out to him, and he says, "Today you will be with me in paradise." Like, even to his last breath, he was still witnessing. He still had other people in mind. There's so much there in like the resurrection story, but that to me is the importance of celebrating like these church traditions, church holidays. It's why we still uphold the sacrament of baptism and the sacrament of communion, which it's a picture of the body and the blood of Christ, the body of Christ broken for us and the blood of Christ shed for us. And then baptism, we are dying with Christ. And just as Christ was raised from the dead, we are being raised with Christ because of what Christ did. And it's important to maintain that level of tradition in the church, because otherwise we can kind of go through life and forget, kind of like what I said before, we kind of forget. We get stuck in our own little realities and we forget, hey, there's a bigger picture. Like there's a bigger story being written here. And I'm not the author or the main character.
Mm-hmm. Especially when we get so busy in our lives. Like you said, you have a crazy busy week this week. And so we can get so distracted with things and just kind of miss this great time to kind of come back and reflect with all believers all around the world to remember what Jesus did and really focus and think about, in all remembrance, just about what he went through for us, for each and every one of us.
And that's something so cool, how you said all around the world. Like, it's believers everywhere. It's not just for Christians in America. It's not for Christians in Israel. It's not for Christians in Greece. It's for Christians. It's anybody who will call on the name of Jesus. And that is so powerful, right? That is just, it's so moving. And It's funny. I'm like convincing myself slowly that Easter's my favorite holiday. Just thinking
this
about
is
it.
Why. This is why. Let's go. Easter. Come on.
But hyped. There's so many pictures, and the cool thing is like there's people all throughout history have done different things to celebrate, right? And they've tried different things, and some things they flopped, truthfully. But other things that we've done as Christians throughout the century, like songs that have been written throughout like this time, reflecting on the resurrection, awesome. And I know I'm very excited for Easter Sunday, not because of the candy or the possible Easter bunny, but because it's just the time
you're gonna see the bunny tracks.
Yeah, I'm gonna see bunny tracks at my house. No, I don't. She might do it after if my mom listens to this.
I hope she does. Please, Mrs. Slade.
Please just make bunny tracks around the house.
Put them around the house, like inside. Austin wakes up and he's like, he came.
Yeah, I'm like, what? Nah, I don't know. I'll probably have to wake up early, so if anything gets in my way, I'll probably I'm not a morning person, so I'll probably just get upset and be like,
oh, yeah.
What in the world is it? Like,
not a good start to your favorite holiday.
Yeah, exactly. But what do you think is something that would be cool or like effective, or that you found effective to do like during this Holy Week to kind of reflect on kind of what we've talked about, like the sacrifice, the life, burial, life, death, burial, and resurrection of Christ going into Easter?
Well, as we've been talking, I've been like you mentioned, like Advent, like because I remember like growing up, we would do like once a night, like leading up to Christmas, we would go through and we would read a passage, and I'm sure there's a Bible plan for Easter, and I want to find a good like Bible plan to walk through each day that like led up, like starting from Sunday and going to when Jesus died when Jesus rose again on Sunday, the next Sunday. And I want to go through and read like what happened each day. And I'm sure there's a Bible plan for that somewhere. So I'm going to find that. I think
that's what Google's for.
Yeah. I've been wanting to Google that. Like as soon as we started this podcast, like, that'd be a good idea.
That would be a good idea. I took a class actually last spring. So when we went into quarantine, and it was called Life of Christ, and it was about the life of Christ. And the professor actually outlined it in that way. He outlined like the days, like what happened each day. And it was pretty cool. But like we didn't read specific passages because we were virtual, and he didn't he just kind of laid out an outline of it. But still, I was like, so I think I might go back and look at my notes.
Well, what about you? What are ways that have been great for you?
I would say, for me personally this year, and I mean, I say it a lot, but I don't actually do it. But this will, I mean, I'm saying it to all of you. So like you guys can kind of like hold me to it, I guess.
Yeah.
But like actually taking time and pausing, and maybe just like you said, finding things to reflect on throughout this week that point me to the power of what Christ truly did. Whether it be like I like to read a lot, so like reading historic prayers that like older church fathers have read and formulated throughout the years, looking at different songs and different themes about that. That's probably what I think I'm gonna do. Of course, I'll probably read the Passion Week and the chronology that like I have. Like I'll probably find like what you said, like Google that chronological theme and read through that. But I would say really like purposing to at least for like 5 minutes a day, just doing something that will feed my soul and feed my spirit, and that will point me to Christ, even in the midst of a busy schedule.
Yeah.
Because what I find is when I take time out of my busy schedule to meditate and to reflect and to walk with God and abide with Him, He always shows up. And even in times where I'm like afraid, like, oh, maybe He's not going to show up this week, He always is faithful and always shows up.
Yeah.
So that's probably what I think I'm going to do for this the remainder of this Holy Week. Which
cool. Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned like cutting out distractions too. Like that will like lead into that like
Mm-hmm.
piece, and I need to do that this week. It's just cut out distractions. And I mean, I need to do that overall. We all need to do that, like overall, like cut distractions. But like really, like focus on cutting those out and spending time and just like listening and just being quiet and just like feeding your soul.
Yeah, being still, right? And that's something I think we take for granted a lot is like stillness and solitude. But that is the time where like I am my most authentic self, and in those times of stillness and solitude is where God can break in the most real and genuine way, because that is where I am my most authentic and real self, right? Mm-hmm. But hey, we'd love to connect with you guys and hear what you guys are doing for Holy Week, or how you guys celebrate Easter, whether it's online or whether it's in person at a church. We'd love to connect with you. And like we say every week, you can follow us on Instagram. If you're on YouTube, you can see it at the bottom of the screen. But if you're listening by way of Apple Music or Spotify, my tag is Austin J. Slade, and Spencer's is Spencer_URB. The first 3 letters of his last name. It's not just it's not just Herb.
Trying to hide my identity.
Yeah, exactly.
Throw people off.
Yeah, exactly. Or you can email us at hello@bayhope.com. But like we said, well, let me be the first to say happy early Easter. He is risen. He is risen indeed.
I'll be second. So, happy Easter.
Yeah, and then we'll Spencer, close us out with the finger guns.
No, not gonna do.
No more finger guns.
No, we did that the one time, and
we're past finger guns.
All right, we never were. No. All right, yeah, you take that. I'll let you.
All right, thank you guys. We love you so much. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening. Yes.